All right, hello folks, welcome back to the channel for another 1v1, this time between Give You Anxiety. I think he's a lad who really needs no introduction at this point. We've seen him plenty of times already on this channel. For anyone who's not familiar, he's an Age of Empires free and Age of Empires online player, ranked highly in both of them. And his opponent, over in the red corner, is DeMuslim. For anyone who is not familiar with DeMuslim, DeMuslim is a former StarCraft pro turned commentator from England. So, you know, he's repping the home side because he's playing as England in this one. He will be up against GUA, who is playing HRE. Now, this matchup should be interesting to me because, remember, England is a more static nation. They don't tend to go for the cavalry, and I have talked about the weaknesses of HRE, the kind of exposed flank, should we say, is the issue is they don't tend to build into cavalry. So if you ever end up trying to quickly like kite them and retreat around them, it can feel quite easy to skirt and screw with an HRE player in the early game. But I'm interested to see these pro level players as they continue to engage with HRE, how things transition. Because my opinion in this faction, I'd love to know your opinion in the comments, is that there's a huge eco power spike timing in the second age because of this 40% gather rate increase, which means that it should, in theory, be possible for you to second TC quicker, but alternatively, it should be possible for you to sustain a bigger army. So, for example, maybe have an additional barracks compared to a different faction at the same point in the game. Now, that being said, that does mean that you would have to run across the map. You have to reach your opponent to punish them. But I do think there is an argument for this faction actually being quite strong once you kick straight into feudal, right? You compare it to like England. England's going to kick feudal. I think it's maybe in this matchup it doesn't show as much just because England, of course, has that really powerful timing where they get longbowmen off building their landmark. But I think against these other factions that are maybe a little bit less quick on the aggression, maybe something like Rust comes to mind, I could see HRE maybe getting much better game. Of course, I think in those situations, HRE is debatable whether they're strong in the ultra late game. I think really if you're playing this faction, you're playing heavy into an advantage by Castle Age at the latest. Opening-wise, though, looks like there is going to be some people from DeMuslim going across to wood right now. He hasn't built a lumber camp yet, so this is kind of inefficient. It will finally start to go down now, but that was a little bit an inefficient trek. That's fine, though. He did actually have the wood to build it straight away if he'd wanted to. Just chooses to go for the slight delay. We haven't talked about the map, by the way. Lots of choke points here. It's the canyon passage, right? So there's only a few ways through. And in this situation, this is where I think HRE is a lot stronger. We definitely saw Doubt put that sort of map layout to work when we watched them playing from the hillsides, right? That was a little bit different, though, because it meant that he was able to static defense his space quite easily, and there could be any early harass. In this map, it's more about this central control. But if you look this down as GUA, you don't feel outmobilized. Not that you really should against a nation like England that is like unlikely to go into tonight. I'd say if anything, the side I'd expect more like to see doing cavalry in this game would actually be the HRE player, just because usually your eco in the gold factor should be stronger because of the means with which you can gather gold, right? With the 40% increased gathering rates, with potentially the cathedral at tech free. There's just so many additional ways for you to just garner gold supplies compared to an England player. An England player that has finally started building his landmark. He was late to this, by the way, so that does mean that Tech Up will go the way of HRE. And it looks like GUA has opted to go for the blacksmith in this situation. You can see the benefits here. It just basically means that your researchers will cost less. Other than that, it's just your bog standard blacksmith. Now, this is curious to me because I feel like 90% of the time, I'm convinced that going for the Aachen Chapel is just better. Especially with this sort of placement. With his starting placement, it would have been amazing because he would have had it affecting both the gold line and the wood line, and he would have had mass surplus of both. Now, of course, blacksmiths can save you time, save you money over time, right? When you're talking about these very expensive eco costs later in terms of the like tech 2, tech 3 researchers. But I think even at that stage, when you're talking about the transitional factor, the Aachen Chapel booms you in the second age, but then more importantly, it allows you this switch over where you can continue to eco boom via food, because once all the wood and the gold around it is gone, you can just slap down mills, and that transition that sometimes can feel awkward going from hunting to farms is more justified and easier to actually, like, you know, weigh up the benefits of when you're playing HRE, because you have that 40% gather boost, which later on in the game even turns into a 50% gather boost. That being said, quite a few workers right now for GUA. He's actually almost doubling up the capacity of the prelate. So it'll be interesting to see if he plans to get a secondary prelate out anytime soon. So far, not choosing a Q1, which is curious because you can't keep up with the blessings. It's 10 is the cap that a prelate can achieve because the blessing lasts 30 seconds and it takes a second to cast and then it has a 2-second cooldown. But let's not focus too much on the HRE because there is going to be some action coming out from DeMuslim. He's began to spam out the longbowman and moving towards the choke point in the center means it'll be hard for Give You Anxiety to wrap around. Meanwhile, GUA is countering this move with archers of his own. An interesting play. This only really works if you have a second archery range, though. Because remember, the longbowmen come out at twice the speed. Of course, they are more pricey. 40 food, 50 wood, compared to the 30 food, 50 wood that a regular archer will cost Give You Anxiety. And this is quite nice for the player who's not spamming longbowman, because remember that means like your food, you're not like food capped, you always have surplus to keep producing more villagers. So sometimes it even gives you an eco advantage later on in terms of your villager production. They are even at the moment though. And interesting, I love this from DeMuslim. So he's walking out a villager to build the outpost. Now, we talked about this in a previous series, I believe it was between Tato and Simtom, about how important these outposts can be. And getting down early aggressive outposts can really make or break England due to the attack speed buff. And considering there's only one archery range right now for GUA, he's already behind in terms of archer production, right? Like, it's a 4-4. This will definitely favor DeMuslim. As you can see, look, he can trade before you can even get in range. So really, you need a secondary archery range soon if you're GUA. Or some other answer. I wouldn't mind seeing him going towards a barracks just to get his men-at-arms. Especially seeing as he is now researching marching drills, which affects only the infantry, but gives him a 10% speed boost. This would be the perfect time to switch over and maybe try and get your hands on a few men-at-arms. The only issue I see with that plan is, as you can see, from the placement of this outpost and where his troops are, DeMuslim is cutting off the gold supply for Give You Anxiety. Which means even if he tries to go into men-at-arms now, he maybe gets 2. I think it's 2, 3 of them, and that's going to be it. Has there been a barracks commitment from DeMuslim? It looks like he hasn't even opted for it. I don't blame him either in this situation. You see your opponent doesn't have a counter. He's going for archers. That's not going to work. But now there are stables being built. Double stable, in fact. So it looks like GOA is going to switch over to the Horsemen spam, which is perfect in this situation if you don't think your opponent's going to switch spears. And I don't blame him for reading it this way. Like, Muslim's so up in his face right now, he's probably just committed to longbowman. Right? His eco is just about supporting it. There's no way he's going to go for the racks. And even if he did, he'd have to run them across the map. And with the Lombo's slower movement speed, if you reach critical mass of Horsemen, you'll be able to run down and kill his entire Lombo army. So second stable complete. I don't think this has been scouted yet either. No. Oh my god, it has. Okay, he'll see the Horseman now. So I don't know if DeMuslim quite caught that. It was only for a fraction of a second. But one Horseman was quickly revealed there. These boys are speedy, by the way. 1.88 tiles a second, which is just bonkers, in my opinion. These archers do move fast, by the way. 1.38. In fact, is there any switch up right now from DeMuslim? No. He doesn't have a clue this is coming. GUA is doing a great job of being patient and not revealing it. And by the way, other thing that's keeping this really frustrating for DeMuslim, you're seeing it here, the repair. It's the emergency repairs, so he can't do any damage. He's finally going to start building a new battering ram, but this has actually bought enough time that now Give You Anxiety can chase out. 4 Horsemen is decent enough to get close enough. You can already see the palings going down for the longbowman. So he will be forced to back up for the moment, but if he keeps producing his Horsemen at this rate, he should just be able to overwhelm DeMuslim before he can react, because he still has not built a racks yet. Finally be able to start getting through the house. There is another emergency repair coming off cooldown, so you actually could keep this alive. We'll see if he opts to do so just to waste more time. There it is. Okay, so DeMuslim's not switching over. There it is. That's what I was about to say. Whenever someone makes this play against you, the thing you want to do is instantly go after a different target, because that does put the emergency repair on cooldown for the complete duration. And while this repair is now wasted, this cannot be protected. But the chase comes out with the Horsemen. They need to ignore the battering ram and go straight after the longbowman, which is what they're doing now. And he's trying to trade out with the archers because he knows they can be a bigger threat than the Horsemen in this situation. They keep chasing. The retreat. If he can get behind them, it's going to completely disrupt the flow here. And it looks like he's getting the good trades. He's just run them down one by one. They keep trying to throw down the campfires to protect. But there's just not enough of them here. I think there's enough archers and horsemen to force DeMuslim away, or at least completely reset his attack. He might clean up the remaining horsemen, but the archers now have the advantage in this bout. Spams down one by one. Now he has to back up. He is faster, so he will get out of range, but this is the frustration. This is the effect of these campfires, by the way, which I'm kind of expecting to get tweaked slightly. It is crazy how many of them you can put down, because remember, every press of the button is one by one. You don't even, it's not even micro-intensive to not waste the longbowman's campfires. But now, with the battering ram gone, that should offset a lot of the aggression that DeMuslim had. That was a big investment for him. And considering these trades are still even, I'd say Eco is eking out towards GUA in this situation. And when we look at the incomes per minute, GUA is fully in control on the food front as well. So he's able to keep up this spam production of Horsemen, no issues, no questions asked. Accidentally losing another Horseman like that, or at least an Archer. So they need to get rid of this outpost. This is the biggest issue that GUA is dealing with right now, because every time he comes back in, every time he's on the aggressive, he's getting huge attack speed buffs that mean that you can't even trade if you have a slight numbers advantage as GUA. GUA did take this opportunity, by the way, to snatch up some more gold. Really well played by him. And he continues production further back in his base. So double archery and the stables now, and he should be able to reach that critical mass to overrun the reinforcing longbowman. Because remember, Muslim is full in on this. He still actually hasn't built any other military building, and he's not teching up. Muslim has to win this in like the next 6 minutes, or this will start to just teeter-totter in favor of Give You Anxiety, because he'll have an army that will inherently have a nice balance to counter out just longbowmen, and at the same time, you haven't tried for a tech race on DeMuslims, so you won't have a recovery point, basically. You don't even have another military building to help defend yourself with. Has he got enough Horsemen this time? 6 is a good number. He is expanding as well. He's going for a secondary food line out here. For comparison's sake, we already see the move by DeMuslim. This double value as he's got both the berry bush and the deers just overlapping. What in the goose? Outrageous. And I believe, is he sniping the boar? Yeah, he sent his whole army to snipe the boar, so he's fully secured the future of his food income. This is really nicely played. Wait, no, did he really? Okay, he didn't. I thought he researched professional scouts. Because he had the scout here, I thought he was going to try and pick up the boar. By the way, you can't do that. Professional scouts, the ability that lets you pick up carcasses does not work on boars, so don't try it, folks. But battering rams renewed by DeMuslim. 22 longbowmen and 17 archers plus 7 horsemen for Give You Anxiety. And he's still producing more, so he should be able to find it as soon. So many people working on wood, by the way. 28. Everyone here is woodworkers and a smaller group on the food right now. So just trying to make sure he has ample resources to spam out archers non-stop at this stage. Compare it to the other side where I think it's less or equal on the wood. Billies will be chased away. Horsemen move forward. He's going to lose one of them before they can even get engagement range with the rest of them. They're now charging in. And now this should force a retreat from DeMuslim. But remember, even the campfires, in this situation, with this many horsemen engaging you in melee, you're losing like half of your range force's attacks in each burst here. And you can see the effect. He hasn't even started targeting the archers, rather, because he has to get rid of these horsemen. But he hasn't got enough to burst through them quick enough. They're buying so much time for GUA's back line. In fact, he could even split this up to fire on 2 different longbowmen if he wants, but with the healing factor of the campfires, he doesn't want to risk it. And yeah, that's giving him the advantage now. And remember, now they're out of the outpost range, there's no attack speed buff for DeMuslim either, which is why he lost this fight so convincingly. Archer chase down continues. One by one they fall. And he finally gets through the other horsemen. I believe more horsemen were being produced though. No, they weren't. Okay. He was disrupted by the fighting here. He was fully focused on the micro, but he repels the forces of DeMuslim. And DeMuslim now in a situation where his food is still kind of capped. He hasn't got any tech up plans. He's still in on this investment. And Give You Anxiety, I wonder if he just starts to gather food to try and go for a tech up. It's an option he potentially has now because his army is big enough to repel the forces Muslim sent to him. And once this battering ram's gone, all pressure should be removed from his base as well. So DeMuslim's going to lose that one. Then in this situation, you can actually get back on the gold line, and then options actually open up for GUA. He could even opt towards maybe trying to get his hands on men-at-arms, or he goes for the tech up and gets a few knights. And once you have a few knights up against England, when it's an all-in longbow rush, you just win. And then remember, guys, this is the effect of just taking a win in that type of battle. DeMuslim, because he doesn't have a nation that, like in this situation, he hasn't built outposts, he hasn't got a spearman, he hasn't got a defense line, he has to keep spamming out the longbowman, which means he's not able to accrue resources to invest elsewhere at all. Knights continue to burn down. And I believe there's still more knights. Yeah, more knights are coming out. So it's troop stable spam. This is just going to completely obliterate DeMuslim. We'll burn down the outpost now. If anything, really what you need is a fort builder from DeMuslim to put down outposts. This is the one way that you can maybe win these fights. But even then, it's going to be difficult. Because the archer count, you're outnumbered right now. It's 24 archers to the 15 longbowmen. Snipes out a few villies. And the archers are going to back away because they're split in an awkward formation. And now, with the Horsemen here, this should be the moment where DeMuslim realizes that they're going to counterattack. So he will back up into the choke point. Remember, you can hide out in this forest. It is a stealth forest, so in terms of vision, no one would have vision. But if you bring a scout up, then you can actually kind of ambush, give you anxiety before he can even react. The only issue is I don't think that favors longbowmen as much because you already can ambush people, right? You already attack them from out of their max range. It's more beneficial thing to do when you have these small boy archers, these ones that have a shorter range by 2 tiles. There's a scout vision again. The Muslim's gonna, he's just gonna, okay, that's not a good situation. He just lost the scout. And remember, guys, every time he builds scouts, it's coming out of his town center. He still doesn't actually have a stable to build scouts out of. And it's important to keep scouts up, by the way. Like, the vision game is so critical at these high-level players. Finally, a barracks will go down, by the way, for DeMuslim, but he's already kind of resource burnt in this situation. Yeah, you could get a few spearmen, but I think with the archer count just being in favor still of GUA, it becomes a little bit problematic. It looks like the longbowmen have finally exceeded the number. But in terms of... okay, so GUA is still 1 archer ahead, but that will change. The interesting part is GUA seems to have just stopped production for the most. He's got a few more archers coming out, but only 1 more horseman currently. Needs to get his food under control. What numbers has he got his split on? Okay, he's got 30 people on food, so he should catch up immediately and then just be able to spam out. Just still no interest in teching up at all, though. Has he at least researched... No, yeah, he's researched everything here already. I mean, 25% discount, why wouldn't you? And now he's getting the siege engineering. So if he takes 1 win in this fight, he'll be immediately into DeMuslim's base. I wonder if DeMuslim's expecting this, because remember, he did scout out that the Minework Palace had been built, so he should know that his opponent is in a situation where he should have all the tech upgrades. Meanwhile, if we look at the blacksmiths of DeMuslim, you know, obviously he only needs these ones around range because he hasn't built any melee units. But now that he's moved across to melee, being at disadvantage could be a problem. I would have especially loved to have seen the fitted lever works, considering how many of your troops are getting caught by horsemen. But I think in his eyes, the issue isn't the damage the horsemen do, it's the amount of damage they negate by locking your range units into melee. GUA backing up again. A lot of workers here that are potentially exposed, but they do move quick enough to get out of here. 1.29 is a pretty speedy worker. And the longbowman's slow continues in. Now, this is where things will start to favor GUA, because remember, now you're fighting on home territory. The reinforcement is a tree kill in for DeMuslim, so he needs to maintain an advantage in the combat here. If anything, he needs to try and snipe out the eco, but he can't so far. And remember, GUA did tech up. He went for the Regnitz Cathedral, which means he's now getting gold treacle. So Muslim has to end this game here, or it's going to end badly for him. And in fact, have knights start being produced yet? Yeah, the knights have been queued up. And this is where things get really problematic for DeMuslim. Because even these spearmen, which counter out horsemen, you know, they're only hardened spearmen. They haven't been teched up. He's in a tech free. And I don't think he has any showings of going towards tech free. No, he's doubled down. Even more archery ranges. He will at least have access to crossbowmen, though. So this could potentially counter out GUA. Cathedral gets spotted. More relics to be picked up. And they're just looking for workers to snipe out, but the full Villy force is going to move away. And now he's pinched. GUA's going to wrap round. There's no escape route here, but he's hesitant to engage because of the critical mass of longbowmen. This is up to 46 now. By comparison, it's 32 archers, 12 horsemen, only 2 knights. I think if GUA can quickly get to 5-6 knights, he might just look to engage. The good news for him is that DeMuslim is wasting a lot of time trying to just attack the cathedral, which is way too tanky to burn through. He needs to disrupt the eco line. But instead, look at this once again. GUA is just yoinking these relics and backing away. I think he was looking for maybe some sort of cute Wallalow play where he hides behind a tree and doesn't get seen. But won't work. Actually, no, sorry. I wonder where the other one... Okay, so yeah, it's just both here with relics. It's going to run them away now. But 1 longbowman and a spearman should be able to kill off a prelate here. Meanwhile... Oh my god, GUA, he's going for it. He's going straight into the choke point because he sees the whole army's committed here. Because DeMuslim spread himself too far out, Now you can just run forward and take advantage of the high ground. He has forced the Muslim to react and come back, so he won't look to actually just charge through into the base yet. But a mistake made by DeMuslim. He's got barely any spearmen up here, and he just lost a few to the archer spam. Meanwhile, they did disrupt the woodcutter line, but they haven't found this gold vein back here, and it looks like he's going to bang both the relics. Wow. Okay, you're chimichangaed at this stage. Like, if we look at gold income per minute, just look at the difference. Give You Anxiety is getting almost 1,000 a minute now with this commitment on the gold veins and now the Regnitz Cathedral. If he wants, he could pressure onto these battering rams. He might want to do so soon. In the meantime, he's just going to repair, realizing that, oh, there's no units aggressively here, so I can get away with repairing. You haven't got longbowmen in range to snipe out my villies. More reinforcements coming. It's still such a small contingent of spearmen, though, up against this many horsemen and this many knights. Just look at it now, up to 10 knights. And remember, yeah, you can kind of snipe out some of the horsemen pretty well with the longbows, but the knights is a bigger problem that even your hardened spearmen, your little boys here, aren't going to answer at all. Charge in. Archer's going to back away. And he has exposed the battering ram, so he's going to immediately burn up one of them here. Back away. I think GUA could look to engage. He's just a little bit scared of the palings. And he gets the Mangonel! And this is going to cause anarchy for DeMuslim. This should just repel this assault now. DeMuslim, he goes into staggered formation. Remember, this means that you won't have an initial firing line, but the horseman is heavy. So they'll be able to actually get closer. GUA looking to end it right now. Mangonel shots coming out. The archers need to prioritize them, but it's not doing much damage at this stage in the game. And now he charges forward. Knights repels them for the second. Mangonel shots through. He needs to be quick in this because the campfires are giving an attritional advantage to DeMuslim. And once again, the battering rams are getting his attention, so he goes to deal with them instead. And then moving in, DeMuslim, he's cleaning up the archer line right now. The Mangonel not having enough effect. He needs to engage with these horsemen right now, but instead he prioritizes keeping the cathedral up, and he's going to lose the archer army. DeMuslim, he's still not trading that well, actually. These archers are fighting back fiercely. Veteran archers versus the normal longbowmen. And it almost feels like GUA is just toying with him because he could just end this right now if he just plows into the line, which he will finally do. He was worried about palings, but he doesn't have to worry at all as he gets the GG and he gets the victory over England.